Good day, everyone. This is a special video in the link I put in the description for a video made by an educated gentleman who calls himself Apostate Prophet. The subject is, he said, Islam, ignorance about the Ten Commandments. Islam, ignorant about the Ten Commandments. Now, it's not a long video, it's about 10 or 11 or something minutes that I quite listened to it, and I took the notes of the points he pondered and the point that I'm going to clarify and respond according to Islam understanding, what he misunderstood and what he tried to prove as ignorance and so on. Okay, the points are as follows. He started to say that the three religions, that is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, pretend to be three of them, each of them an Abrahamic religion, which is, somehow true in one sense. I have to clarify something about this. Now, this is, and I'll come back to my point. This is, as we know, an apparent peaceful attempt, okay, to gather the three biggest religion on earth to be unified politically, and it's a political movement under one religion, which is Abrahamic, in order to bring about, some peaceful whatever. But it is, and I stress on the point that it is political movement. Anyway, let's get back to the fact that Mr. Educated, whatever, he said that, well, they pretend this, but Judaism and Christianity, they kind of prove it, that they are Abrahamic, except that Islam has no clue and has no info about it, which means it may not be that Abrahamic religion. Well, I'm gonna stop here at Surah 16, verse 23 in the Quran, which says, follow the creed of Ibrahim. Well, in Arabic, Ibrahim, that means Abraham, in Latin, Greek, in Latin, in English, whatever. So this is a direct verse and a direct order to Prophet Muhammad, telling him, God telling him, well, God, after all, is telling him to follow the creed of Abraham. Follow the creed of Abraham. For those who doesn't know what creed is in Arabic, I'm going to make it more clear and easy. It's a millah. Millah in Arabic, mim, lam, te, qasira. Millah means the sect and the things that practiced by Abraham. It's very clear. Millat Ibrahim. Okay, that's one point. It's clear now, and the educated gentleman should get better educated, really taking a look at this and not to, use any other alternatives of fake source or something, because That's all he does. The second point, he mentioned that in the Ten Commandments, after listing them and start saying number one, number two, and so on, the first commandment in both Jewish and Christianity indicate something about the Lord God. Jew in Judaism they call it Yahweh, and in Christianity they simply say God. Like in Islam, they say, God, but substituted with a particular word, which is Allah. Now, funny thing is when he pointed out to Yahweh, which doesn't exist in Quran, which is right, I agree with him. The word Yahweh doesn't exist because the word Yahweh, it has no true effect, no meaning. Yahweh is a word that the Jews used to indicate that their God name is Yahweh. And then the funniest thing when he showed the word Yahweh on the screen, uh, it was really to be read Yah where at the end H instead of the E, probably, which is wrong from whoever is giving him the arts and effect and all those things in the montage or whatever. Just to point out this like that. I'm not taking it as a big thing. Nevertheless, uh, the next point. Islam, I have no clue. Islam gives no info. I have here to point out two verses in the Quran, verses 3 and 4 in Surah number 3. In those two verses, they say, first one, He, that is God, He sent down upon thee, upon you, O Muhammad, the law of right, the good one, confirming what is within its scope, which means within its holding of the book, that is the previous one, and he sent down the Torah and the Gospel, assuring and reassuring that he did send the Torah and the Gospel. And in the Torah and in the Gospel, there are, as the educated gentlemen say, there are the notion of Ten Commandments. We agree, have no problem with that. But saying that Islam has no info or gives no info, actually, it's not true. So, he sent down the Torah and the Gospel before, that is before Quran, because in the first one he said, He sent down upon thee the law of right. This one means the Quran. So now he said before, okay, before the Quran. He said the Torah and the Gospel. Historically, in order, this is right. As guidance for mankind. Now, Torah and Gospel is supposed to be guidance for mankind, which is true if they were intact, if they remained intact. Now, I'm not discussing this issue because it's done and classified since more Christian and probably Jewish apologists agreed with the fact that both books are corrupted because they were written and rewritten by many human beings over many centuries and translated and blah blah blah, all things like that. Anyway, we're not discussing this. So guidance for mankind, and he sent down, listen to this, and he sent down the criterion. Now, to us, Muslim to Islam, and what God meant by the criterion, which is in Arabic Al Furqan, okay, which is the book of Musa, is the Ten Commandments, as obviously every intellectual should know, except our educated gentleman, probably. So I asked him to reread and understand correctly the meaning of the verses. All right. After that, he uses Bukhari as I don't know what to say. I mean, Bukhari is. I'm sorry to use this word. Is bullshit. Whatever Bukhari wrote is really bullshit. Okay, because all lies and fabrications are in Bukhari book. You want to criticize Quran or Islam, go to Quran itself, not to Bukhari, not to someone who with half reason or with no reason at all or something like that explained and tried to give us the meaning of things or probably the circumstances of and so on and on and on. I don't take Bukhari as any fact, whatever he wrote, whatever he done. Go to the Quran, and from the Quran you can debate whatever you want. Now, back to the next point. Uh, Actually, we should have cited the Ten Commandments, but anyway, we don't need it. Actually, they are almost similar for the three religions. But I'm gonna make a remark that it differs from Judaism to Christianity a little, okay, which is not problematic, which is not serious, and so on. As well, it might differ between both Judaism and Christianity, Ten Commandments, and Islam criterion, which is the equivalent of Ten Commandments. Now, Islam has really 10, while in Christianity there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, if you want to really count them individually. Uh, Islam did gather two or three probably in one, which gives the same thing. Like I'm going to give you an example. First commandment said, I am the Lord thy God. I am your God, the only God. The second one, no other gods before me. No other gods. No graven images or likenesses. Nothing like me. Don't, yani, don't substitute sometimes with an image or with anything that insinuate that it is God, I am, and so on, and blah blah blah. Now those three are gathered in one in Islam. It says in Islam, it says, don't ascribe a partnership with him to anything. Him, it means Allah. Okay? And many times, and the axiom of Islam is, no God but God. Worship me. Okay, this is a general rule, an axiom. So when first commandment in the criterion, the first criterion said, don't ascribe a partnership with him to anything. Christianity, Ten Commandments. Now, Judaism, Ten Commandments, they say, do not have any other gods. There's similarity, of course. Do not make worship idols. It's like in Islam, don't associate anything. It covers. Do not disrespect or misuse God's name. it's in there. It's in there. After all, they are so similar, one by one. I don't mean one by all. I mean you can see the Ten Commandments in the three lists with Judaism, with Christianity, with Islam. You can see them, the 10, but you have to see them with your mind's eye. Okay. Our educated gentleman probably could not or did not. So I'm trying to make it easy on him and on you, everyone, that Ten Commandments are there in the Quran, and I'm just gonna cite them because most of us, even Muslims, we know what the Ten Commandments are, the Ten Commandments of Judaism and Christianity. But most Jews and Christians, and even probably a good number of Muslims, they're not really sure or aware what are these Ten Commandments, if ever they are called Ten Commandments. So God named them the criterion, and they are like taboos, forbidden things, don't do, don't, so on, which is the purpose of Ten Commandments, or the purpose of a commandment. In Islam, first one says, don't ascribe a partnership with him to anything. Second one, towards not your children out of poverty. Now, this one doesn't exist in the Ten Commandments of Judaism and Christianity unless it is englobed or covered by don't kill. Islam specified because it was a habit in the old days that sometimes they kill their children from fear of poverty and so on. Approach not sexual immoralities. Okay? It is there in Judaism and Christianity at the end. I'm not going to cite them, but it is there. Everybody knows that. Kill not the soul which God has made it unlawful. Over there, don't kill, bluntly like this, so it comes to the same purpose. Approach not the property of the, nor in Christianity, although they accuse Islam, both religion, that Islam is against adoption. Here, this criterion is protecting the orphans. Okay, fatherless means an orphan. Next commandment, fulfill the measure and weight with equity. Now, it's not covered directly in either over there, but it's, you can tell it should be there. And this is naturally, you can find a difference between three religions, interpretation, or even conception, and so on. Task not any soul save to its capacity. This one we don't see it in neither Judaism nor Christian. This one, him or herself, to do something he or she not able to do or not supposed to do, which is very important. Now, number 9, be just when you speak. Now, this one is very big. Okay, over there it means don't lie, simply don't lie. But here it means that when you have to testify, when you have something important to say, don't lie. It's broader. It's a little, I should say better. Number 10, fulfill the pledge of God. What does it mean? Fulfill the pledge of God. It corresponds to the in both religion, to the what they call, or what we call, to the in Arabic al-ahd, يعني, like when you say I swear, something like this. I think it's called the covenant. The covenant. I got it. Okay, now let's get back to. Now, after we compare three of them, okay, it's almost all there except that Mr. Educated doesn't recognize that Islam had any notion about it. Yet it is there in three verses of Surah number 7, I think. Let me see, Surah number. My God, I'm sorry for this. Yeah, number 7. I think it's number 7. In those three verses, God said, uh, "Come, let me cite you those forbidden things, which is the equivalent of Ten Commandments, whereby He called them the criterion elsewhere in other at least two verses that I quoted or cited." Okay, now we have to go to. Okay, now the issue of 6 days, God created the earth and the universe and all this in 6 days, and He rested, which brings us to the issue of Sabbath, which is not mentioned in our Ten Commandments in Islam, Ten Commandments, whereby it is mentioned in both other religions by simply the fact to say, remember the Sabbath. I don't know what does it mean. Remember, keep it holy, which means don't work, which means rest in it, symbolizing that God rested after He created, the universe, heaven and earth, and all this thing, and He rested. Now, they accuse Islam rejecting the fact to rest, that God have rested. Uh, well, Islam is based upon God needs no rest, which is both, I would say, uh, He's able, He's all power, He's all powerful, anyway. But we're not going to this to discuss. It's only the fact where the gentleman indicated to, meaning that it is not mentioned the Sabbath, that it's a rest day, it's a holiday. Okay, maybe it's not, and he said that Friday to us, to Islam, is the substitution of Sabbath. It may be right in one way, but why was Sabbath taken in both religion as a holiday? Uh, Quran, I mean, in the Bible, I don't see any aside the fact that God rested. So we have to rest. And He gave us this commandment to rest on Saturday. Quran actually mentioned this in a different perspective, I would say. Quran said about Sabbath, uh, where did I put it? In Surah 16, verse 24, and in Surah 4, verse 154. He said something. Oh my God, I didn't. Maybe I omitted to mention it. Well, the meaning of which is uh, Sabbath, we made it for those who differ in it or about it, actually, which means for Jews and Christians. So he mentioned Sabbath, even the word Sabbath is mentioned, saying in this verse that he made it for them. And actually they differ in it, which means each one uses it, differently and so on. Another verse, which is in, I have to sort it out. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it out quickly. The other verse, not going to be long. Okay. In this verse, God said, misrespect something close to this Sabbath, which is a confirmation that Sabbath is mentioned in the Quran and mentioned in the same meaning of a holiday in both other religions. Yet, he continued, don't misuse or don't misrespect the Sabbath because you already gave, okay? It's exactly in verse 154, Surah 4. And I'm sorry because I had to make you wait to sort it out. Anyway, after that, we go to the word throne. After 6 days, and we're not going to stop much on the term of 6 days. We know that they're not like the days we live here on earth and so on. But after 6 days, God in the Quran said, rested, okay, on his or on a throne. Now, throne is, 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 is physically symbolized as a real throne in the explanation of the educated gentleman. While throne, it doesn't mean this because it's going to be really stupid to understand it like this. God on a throne. God is nothing like him. God is, we can't say how he is, how big, how small, how this, how that. How can we conceive the fact that he can sit on a throne like this? So it's like we are saying he's like this or he's like that or he's this and he's that, which is contradicting to all religions, actually, to all religions in principle. So to us, the Quran, the throne means the authority. Now, after God created the universe and the earth and heaven and this and that in 6 days, he rested, the Arabic word, ثم استوى على العرش. It kind of translated into rested on his throne, but it means that he rested in a way that he is now sure and in control and in full authority over his creation. Now, if you don't understand it like this, it means you're naive. I mean, to consider that God is whatever you conceive or try to conceive and so on. It had to clarify it like this, and it shouldn't be understood like a throne, like a king, or like whomever. And now, he talked about two more points, kind of accusing Islam of something bad. I'm not going to say more than that, okay? Versus the Ten Commandments and the fact that how soft and nice and easy and clear and blah blah blah. whereby actually same thing are they are in Quran, but the 2 points that the final 2 points that he mentioned is about adultery and stoning, and we know this is a big issue, uh, and the commandment of don't steal. Okay, in the Quran, the punishment of stealing, according to the educated gentleman, uh, is cut hands. Okay, now this is what's known actually about stealing in Islam, which is not true, and I'm going to explain if you allow me. Um, the verse number 5. I'm sorry, Surah number 5, verses 38 and 39. They say exactly this in English. And the male thief and the female thief cut their hands as a reward for what they have earned. It's understood. Those who are like me, you know, Arabic speaking, they can compare it with the original verse. والسارق والسارقة فاقطعوا أيديهما نكالا من الله بما كسبت. It continues, I mean both verses continue, or first verse continues, as an exemplary punishment from God. نكالا بما كسبت. So the thief, the woman thief and the man thief cut their hands with an S. Okay, and I'm coming to this as a reward for what they have earned, as an exemplary punishment from God. It's clear. Okay, punishment from God, cut their hand. The word cut their hand now is the controversy we are going to talk about. Then the second verse, because it's related and it's important as much as the first one. Then whoso repents after his injustice, okay, and does towards him. It means whoever he or she stop doing this bad thing, stealing, right? Okay, God will repent on him, will forgive him. God will repent of him, will forgive him. Now I'm going to go up to the word cut their hands. How many hands do they have, the woman and the man? Four. Four hands. The expression as it's translated word by word and understood, it means, and this is not a good translation. It is a good translation, but I mean, as the phrase, but it's not a good explanation that we know about or that we were told. Now, they have four hands. If according to the verse, who want to cut both hands of each of them, it means they will spend the rest of their life without hands. They cannot work. They cannot do many things. Is this God's wish? Of course not. Of course not. Only a fool could say, well, maybe, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but logically, the second verse would tell you that it's impossible that God wanted or implemented cutting four hands of both woman and man. Why? Because what would repenting do them good if afterwards they got straightened their behavior and conduct so God can repent or forgive them? What will do them good? It has to be something in return, really, okay, with a value logically accepted to say, yeah, which means, instead of the word, I mean, instead of the fact cutting, really cutting, like in a knife with a knife or something, in those days, the Arabs used the word cut in so many meanings, but the most popular meaning was to drift away, or to make someone, or to set someone away or something, okay, or to cause them to drift apart, to leave, let's say, the scene, or leave the place, and get away, like when we exile someone, let's say. It's exactly like this. Nowadays, when we say in Arabic, qata'a, it means in English cut. We think of a knife or a sword or something, and then cut a hand or even throat, or whatever. But I get you back to logical reasoning. God would never do harm, or would never want harm to someone. Why would he make him lose two hands? To have him all his life like even worse than a handicap. It's just something you cannot believe if it is happening, or it is the way God wanted it. It's as simple as this. Now, what else? Okay, maybe one more thing I'd like to say about the term Ten Commandments. I personally have a conviction that when God uh, Musa, Moses, on which there are those commandments, we call them Ten Commandments. I don't think in any way that God told Musa, these are the Ten Commandments, meaning that God did not give the name of Ten Commandments to those commandments, nor did even Moses did. Okay? So the appellation of Ten Commandments probably came in time, and well, there you go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and they are commandments. So let's call them the Ten Commandments. It's just to say that probably one of the reasons why Quran did not call them Ten Commandments, a fact as a truth, ultimate, whatever, just a possibility that it is like this. And this is why the Quran called them differently. Called them one time the criterion, and gave them the quality of forbidden things on us. Things God forbade us to do in order to have good conduct. Uh, I'm not going to stop right now without any remark, because this educated gentleman, uh, he uh, he had much wrong, which is right, because he uses wrong element, wrong alibi, wrong what should I say, wrong proof, wrong document, and so on. And this is why we see many of this kind of education. Uh, I have one advice, uh, especially that he claimed that he's an ex-Muslim. To me, X or no X, anyone have the right or can read the Quran to understand and to probably deal with it, or deal with someone on issues in it. But if you don't understand the Quran and you count on uh, 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 hadith fabricated or corrupted or whatever, whether from Bukhari or whomever, then you are missing the objective. You're criticizing Islam, go to Quran. In the Quran, pick up any verse, anything, any subject, any issue, and try to answer with someone. But this is very cheap the way you are doing your job, and I call it job because I strongly believe that it is your job. It's your I mean, it's your way of living. You're making a living out of it, and I have no doubt that there's someone or something behind it to support you. You're not that genius to be a genius. Well, first of all, you have to understand what we're talking about. To me, you don't know what you're talking about because you're mixing hadith and Quran and you're saying whatever because you have a prejudgment. Actually, you have a pre-concept. You want to show and to prove uh, any which way, any which how, anyhow, any whatever. And this is wrong. And I have to stop here. And I really thank you for listening. And I invite you to all reflect on this and on other. Everyone has the right to probably criticize, uh, but you have to have good tools, and then you have to really prove it in a very how should I say it? In a very in the best way you can, so not to be. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a great time